Hi everyone, welcome to our presentation. And these is our group members. Topics that we are going to talk today.
Facts of the case is the respondents performed overtime work and they mutually agreed to set a ceiling salary of 130 to 25 ringgit. Later, the respondents claim that they should have been paid their overtime wage according to the actual monthly wage they earned. The appellant counterclaimed that the respondents were not manual laborers as they did not satisfy the criteria of a manual labor and they were outside of the statutory wage limit of Rm 1250. The Director General of Labor supported the respondents' claim. The appellant later appealed the case to the High Court.
These are the positions of the respondents.
Provisions in the Employment Act 1955 that were used. Section 60A3A. For any overtime work carried out in excess of the normal hours of work shall be paid at a rate not less than 1.5 times his hourly rate of pay irrespective of the basis on which his rate of pay is fixed. Paragraph 2(1) of the first schedule. Any person who, irrespective of the amount of wages he earns in a month, has entered into a contract of service with an employer in pursuance of which 1. He is engaged in manual labor including such labor as an artisan or apprentice. This provision is referred to as the first exception. Proviso to the first exception. A person is employed by one employer partly in manual labor and partly in some other capacity. Such person shall not be deemed to be performing manual labor unless the time during which he is required to perform manual labor exceeds 1/2 of the total time during which he is required to work.
And this is the issue of the case.
Judgment made by the court is the respondent had all material been in receipt of a salary in excess of 1,500 and they had also claimed overtime allowances from the appellant. One of the respondents in that appeal was an electrical technician whereby he had a chargeman certificate and had admitted that he was an experienced electrician. He carried out the same duties as the current respondent under appeal before the other respondent.
Faiza bint Ambi Chikjay had at the end of the case decided that the Director General of Labor had failed to appreciate the facts of the case, and he had dismissed the overtime claims of the electrical technician respondent. The court held that the latter was a labor of the brain and intelligence, whereupon the appeal made by the defendant employer was authorized with costs.
Hello everyone, it's time for commentary.
We all agreed with the judgment made by the court, which is: it is essential to determine whether the work in question is purely physical in nature as opposed to work which has a physical or manual content which is really dependent upon acquired skill, knowledge or experience. This is because we first need to differentiate the differences between manual labor or non-manual labor when it comes to wages or overtime payment. Since the broad definition of manual labor that involves with physical effort in which the work is involves with the use of hand and it is the opposite of mental, knowledge or intellectual effort. And by that, the technicians were not considered as manual workers because more than 50% of the technician time was spent on non-manual work that involves ideas, knowledge and intellectual effort. Even at the first place, the technicians did have few duties that involves with manual work. However, an employee is considered to be engaged in manual labor if the employee spends more than 50% of his working hours doing the manual labor. To conclude, we are aware that the Employment Act does not cover to all employees, but it only applies to the employees that is included under the first schedule as stated above. By that, it is clear that the senior craftsman, electrical technician, instrument technician, wastewater technician, and boiler attendant were considered as non-manual workers since it required knowledge and intellectual effort. Lastly, all employees spent more than 50% on non-manual work, and by that, the technicians were not within the scope of the Employment Act as stated under the first schedule, in which an employee is considered to be engaged in manual labor if he spent more than 50% on manual work.
Thanks for watching. Bye bye.